Up on Pirate Vibes, Najai Hines isn't just making plays, he's making headlines. Could it be Seton Hall's breakout star and the biggest personality of the 2026 season? We've got takes on that. Plus, Patrick Madden was spotted on campus at homecoming festivities. Let's just say the vibes were elite. We break down what was happening on campus with never before seen footage. Patrick makes his debut as a cameraman. And Tim Best, of course, joins us. He's got a message for the Seton Hall students. He's getting excited. He's reminiscing about his days on campus with the Blue Bearded Army. But first, let's vibe. Welcome to the latest and greatest episode of Pirate Vibes on the Big East Energy Network, brought to you by Osabasa Spice. Go to osabasaspice.com and use promo code BIGENERGY15 for 15% off your first order. I'm joined, of course, by our co-hosts, I guess our own version of three-man weave now. I guess we're doing that. We're doing this.
An improved version.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I don't want to knock the guys, but I'm telling you, like, vibes are high here, and I think we're really starting to hit our stride. We haven't even started the regular season yet.
Yeah. Well, I edit these videos after, and I'm like, man, we really are hitting our stride on the last episode. So I'm happy where it's going.
Do not let us.
Of course, you guys have the experience together. I'm just the new guy over here. So.
Yeah, you're the third. Actually, so my sister-in-law. My lovely sister-in-law, who, by the way, now has a job in New York City, working for Victoria's Secret as a fashion, doing something fashion. But so in Brazil, they don't call it third wheeling; they call it candling, because on a one-on-one date, romantic dinner, there's the candle in the middle, so that they think that's a better metaphor.
I kind of like that, and it's just proof that Pirate Vibes is really that vibe, because you learn world culture. Here, it's not just best. It's not just Shah and Tony Bozzella. We're learning culture here.
I don't want to tell you what I thought of when you mentioned Victoria's Secret there, Tim. But
was she that she was made up by a dude?
What? Yeah, that's where I was going. But
yeah, you get stupid pop culture references.
Patrick Madden and Tim Best also just released their Seton Hall preview on the Big East blog. Who's more optimistic? Because I would say Tim is a little bit more, right?
No,
it's kind of about the same.
I have him winning 14. Tim has him winning 11. We both have him in 10th place.
So. I'm talking about the article itself. Like Tim, I think you were a little bit more realistic, and Tim was a little bit more uplifting. I don't know. That was just my quick vibe.
I feel like with mine, I had to really think it through. I feel like I was very thorough with, my assessment of the non-conference and things they had to avoid a repeat of last year. I mean, the biggest thing is protecting home court non-conference, avoiding those ugly bye-game losses like they had against Fordham and Monmouth last year. I mean, you're playing teams like New Haven and Wagner. Like, you cannot afford losses ever again to teams like that. And like having a 5-0 start before making the trek all the way to Maui, that'll set them up really well against, I mean, this is the weakest Maui Invitational field we've seen perhaps ever. So, but that we're looking way ahead of that.
Patrick, how's your review quickly?
I'm more interested in who emerges besides Clark and Hines. We know we've got a point guard. We think we've got a center. Or we think that, things are going to come together there. Who emerges from the shooting guard, the small forward, and the power forward between the crop of guys we've talked about over the past few months?
Yeah, well, you talk about Hines and Bud Clark, and today the media day happened on Monday, right?
Monday, yeah.
Monday. And all the highlights were Bud Clark and Najai Hines. All the articles that came off. First of all, Baby Shaq. Are we going with that nickname, or are we just going to let that die? Because I think it's a little too soon to call him Baby Shaq.
I mean, I guess that's what the Jersey people call him. I I don't think I want to put that type of expectation on him. But I do think that there is. I'm kind of buying all the hype because I think that's, first of all, I've seen Najai Hines in person, at least, doing whatever he did on Saturday. We're going to see a little bit of that in a few minutes here. So I think that a lot of what we talked about when we did the episode on Hines back in the summer may be coming to fruition. He might be somebody who, just on his sheer talent, his sheer personality, and whatever intangibles he's got, makes it seem as if he's going to be the real deal.
Yeah, the personality is what shocked me the most. I told you I saw him at Peach Jam, and he really wasn't super outgoing. He was just a normal 17, 18-year-old kid. But the way these articles are written since media day, it's like he's got this big, huge personality. Now I'm kind of excited to see that. It brings a little life to the school. What's up, Tim?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, coming from someone who is and has a big personality,
Yeah.
I think
He saved the show single-handedly. He saved the show with personality.
Okay. I mean, and speaking of, I think that plays perfectly into talking about putting a guy high up on a pedestal, because when you lift someone up, that means it's really easy to tear him down, right? So with Hines, I mean, I love that he's getting all this adulation, but that, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, literally and metaphorically. And, so the point I'm trying to make is, like, the hype is great. And, he deserves a lot of credit and praise for the talent and that he brings to the team. But, we got to temper those expectations a little bit. I remember when Isaiah Whitehead came in, the crown jewel of that great freshman class that came in the same year I did. I called him the prophet Isaiah. It made sense. And unfortunately, he had that injury that kept him out for a little over, I think it was like 6 weeks. With that, I think it was a stretch fracture in his foot. And he wasn't quite at that level of being like the consensus unanimous preseason freshman of the year in the conference. Instead, it goes to a teammate, Angel Delgado. So, but he did eventually live up to them as a sophomore and has gone on to have a great pro career and got started as point guard for his hometown Brooklyn Nets as a rookie, which, I mean, that's just an incredible story. Shout out my boy Zeke. I know I saw him this summer at TBT, but I digress on that. With Hines, now that he's with this team, compared to, being at an event like Peach Jam, for example, where he's with a lot of people that he doesn't really know. Now that he's with this team, having a summer with them, I think now that he's a little more comfortable, I think that allows for more of his personality to show up. I think that's what I perceive that as, but you want a guy like that to come out of his shell. So that's a promising sign to see. And hopefully, if he could be the vibes guy to, keep everyone all together, if things happen to go awry, especially like last year, I think that'll keep the cohesion really strong. And I mean, oftentimes, like, that's what you need in order to really succeed. If you lack in talent, like, if you have the cohesion, that could help you beat talented teams that don't have that cohesion.
Quick 10-second point off for what Tim had to say. Bud Clark being around helps, because now it's not just all eyes on Najai Hines. You've also got people who are excited about Bud Clark. So the fact that, that it's not as if, when Whitehead came in, it's just like, okay, here's Whitehead. Here's a guy we expect to go to the NBA. Here's a guy we expect is going to take us. People even use the word Final Four in conversations around Whitehead his freshman year. But you have Bud Clark, who is also someone in his own right, who is coming in and being seen as one of the quote unquote saviors of this team and of this program. So the fact that you can put some focus on Clark as much as you can put focus on Hines allows Hines to sort of, grow a little bit and maybe develop his game more, because the fans are also going to be keeping their eyes very close on the point guard.
Yeah, you talk about Bud Clark, and another thing I took from a lot of these reporters is that he talked about the guards and the guards and the guards, and he went out and he went to go find guards. Do you expect, a lot of our speculation has been you might see Dar at the 4 and they play really, really small. Do you expect after this media day that we are going to see a lot of small guard lineups?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think Elijah. I predict Elijah Fisher
Yep.
be the starting power forward on opening night, and Shaheen Holloway is making comparisons to a certain extent between Fisher and Dre Davis in terms of what the expectations are, in terms of that guy who scores when he has opportunities, rebounds when he has opportunities, and sort of anchors the defense a little bit, because again, he's a fourth year senior. He's someone who, as Holloway has mentioned many times, has Big East experience. So I think that you want to. He's basically going to put Fisher in that veteran role of being someone who tries to keep everything together, because he's been there and done that in big places like DePaul and smaller places like Pacific.
Fair enough. Hey, Tim, what do you think about the quote about the GM? Shah says that it's something he's talked with B-Felt. He called him B-Felt again, which cracked me up. It's something we're looking to do, and we're going to address in the offseason. Do you think a GM is coming our way, or do you think they're waiting for everything to go with the house settlement and figure all that out? Is that the reason why we haven't got a GM? Like, I'm just wondering where we're going with that.
I think having a GM is a must. I think the house settlement might have something to do with it. But at the same time, like, I think you gotta slam that button and say, like, yeah, we need to get a GM like as soon as humanly possible, because you never know with the house settlement. Like, it could take a while. Like, things when it comes to Congress, and I mean, listen, I paid attention in civics class. Like, it takes time for things to pass in Congress, and just especially with like settlements in the House too. Like, the way I see it, don't bank on waiting. Like, try to get a GM as soon as you possibly can. Make sure you get a good one, and not having a GM will just set us further back than we already are with the rest of the conference.
I mentioned this when we talked about this topic earlier in the offseason. What would happen if tomorrow or even on Monday, if he said, Andrew Francis is my GM? I haven't given him the title. I don't know if I'm going to give him the title, but Andrew Francis does everything I would have. Andrew Francis, of course, is in his second year on the staff. He coached with Fran McCaffrey. He was an assistant to Fran McCaffrey at Iowa before coming to Seton Hall. And what Holloway said, I don't know if it was last year or a year ago, was that, Francis basically monitors the transfer portal, tries to take a look at who's going in, and takes a look at who's going to target. And then at some point we can do an analysis as to what type of job Seton Hall did getting people out of the portal once we see them play a little bit. So, the question is, does he already have a GM, but he doesn't want to give that guy the title? And of course, one of the other things about Shaheen Holloway is that, one of the other things that he sort of pointed out a few times on Monday was that the buck stops here. I am the guy. If my players aren't good, I'm not going to throw a GM under the bus. I'm not going to be like, if, let's say, just hypothetically, if Villanova's transfers don't work out very well, is Kevin Willard going to place the blame on Baker Dunleavy, who's the general manager at Villanova? So maybe Holloway's basically trying to cover for, let's say, Francis, and say, hey, look, if these players don't work out, Shaheen Holloway is the guy who makes all of the personnel decisions, as every coach still has to do, regardless of whether you have a GM or not. I mean, I would hope that at St. Bonaventure, just as an example, that Adam Wojciechowski is not the one who's saying, get this player, get that player. I hope that, and I don't remember the name of the head coach up there off the top of my head, but I'm hoping the guy who's the head coach of the team is ultimately the one saying, here are the guys on my roster, and not putting in the hands of a guy who, while everyone likes Woj, Woj has not been involved in the college game for more than a year.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that like hearing the sentence college basketball GM, it's a fever dream. Like, how did we get here?
You're talking about a dream here. One part of the press conference or media day was that Shah was talking about the Final Four and how great it would be for the conference for Seton Hall, St. John's, and UConn to be in the Final Four. I know that's optimistic and obviously extremely optimistic and all that, but I want you guys to compare how the feeling was last year to this year. Is there a dramatic difference between how Shah's presenting this team compared to last year?
Well, one thing I think which is different is that he mentioned this a lot. He got to see these guys over the summer. He doesn't have injuries to deal with. So in both of those senses, I think that he's feeling better about this team because he has a better idea of what he's getting into. And of course, last year, he didn't have this uncertainty about Zion Harmon hanging over his head. Basically like, okay, do I want to tell people that Zion Harmon is homesick? Do I want to tell people that Gussie Alden, for example, while he might be the guy everyone likes the most, really doesn't have Big East basketball ability, and all those other doubts that were hanging over things last season. Like, for example, we didn't get to see this team as much as we have. He basically had the media practice, and that was it. He didn't do anything like the showcase from last Saturday. He didn't have the open practice that he did 2.5 weeks ago. Now, he still hasn't mentioned whether or not he's doing secret scrimmages or not.
He did mention that. He did mention that. One at a neutral site and one in Walsh. He didn't mention the opponent, though. He didn't
mention the dates.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, so he's at least talking like, and this was something which people still reiterated. I read an article by a guy Tim and I know pretty well, Adam Zelinka at Garden State, Garden GUARD State Hoops, who said there's still a lot of lock and key mentality at Seton Hall, even though maybe he didn't say it, but somebody else I read said it. There's still a lot of lock and key mentality about not knowing what's going on because Holloway still keeps a lot of his cards close to the vest. But I think in this case, he just looks like he's happy doing his job this year, or happier doing his job than he was at this time last year.
I know.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Like he almost, I don't want to say he's got his joy back. I think Shah like naturally comes across as someone that you don't. He comes off as unapproachable, but like once you get to talking to him, like I can't say a bad thing about him. I like, as a person, love Shaheen Holloway. But you talk about the how things are still lock and key. I mean, at least he still gives a damn about the secret part of secret scrimmages. Horrible joke there, but yeah, I think the openness, that having more openness compared to last year. It's almost like he was trying to hide last year's team from us, which honestly, good call on his part. No disrespect, but this year he's not afraid to hide. He's not hiding them. So he must really like this group. So that gives me a lot more like security inside. Like, okay, now I don't have to worry about this team being like, oh no, like I have to dread watching them take the court. Like I feel pretty good with a solid point guard, a young but promising center, and more of a complete unit, and more importantly, a healthy unit.
Yeah. Well, the vibes are up then, right? The vibes are good with the Pirates right now. When we come back, Patrick was at the homecoming festivities, and he's going to tell us a little about the showdown on Pirate Vibes. Welcome back to Pirate Vibes. We got a little behind the curtain. Patrick was at homecoming. Patrick, why don't you tell us what happened at homecoming? I know you were talking trash to the Nova fans for having a Wawa on campus. And
yes, they were. We have a Jersey Mike's. They have a Wawa. Take your pick. If you want a sandwich, you go to Jersey. You go to Jersey Mike's. But that's something.
I will tell you, in South Georgia, Wawa just came here. Like Wawa, we've had Jersey Mike's. I've been here for 12 years. Wawa just came here, And honestly, at work, I go there for lunch because I'm like, oh, it's a little bit like home. So
Well, Wawa's got a lot more going on, and
Yeah.
at least in terms of you can get more things at Wawa. But that's beside.
if the Wawa Corporation wants to sponsor our show, just give me DM me.
I'd say I'd rather have Jersey
589.
Mike's, to be honest, but that's
Okay, Jersey Mike, that's fine
that's
too.
neither here nor there. Jersey Mike's, of course, gives Rutgers a lot of money, so that they might be out of it. But anyway, to get to they again. This is a parents' weekend / homecoming. I don't think they wanted to do anything particular serious, like let's say the open practice a couple of weeks beforehand. So what you've got here is they're trying to put a showcase on where you can see the women's players and you can see the men's players. And they put this one interesting competition where they had one male player and one female player in this sort of obstacle course where they were throwing the ball into a target, and then they came down to the other side of the court and did some shooting. They were shooting threes and they were shooting foul shots. So I don't know if you were going to play the clip of we have Zahara Bishop, who is a freshman on the women's team, who Tony Pizzella, the head coach, is very high on. And, of course, the aforementioned Najai Hines, who, you watch, if you're watching him in the building, he doesn't look like a freshman. He doesn't look like someone who's sort of, afraid of the moment. He was someone who seemed, ready, willing, and able to, sort of make his presence known, playing to the crowd, having a good time with whatever this was, and just sort of looking to be happy to be there, as opposed to a lot of freshmen who are sort of like, I'm being forced to do this. I have to come out of my shell, and so on and so forth.
All right, here's the video. Patrick, the cameraman, credit to Patrick for his first camera work for Power Vibes.
Maybe my last.
Here we go. Sorry, I played Jordana. I did not play Zahara Bishop. It's not the cameraman's fault. It's my fault. Here is Zahara.
Three-point shot, top of the key, bang. Free throw shot, at the foul line. Rings out. Come on, let's go. Come on, Najai, let's go. In the corner. Good of the day. Crazy with it. It's on slow down.
I love it that he ended it with a dunk. I just, the fact he brought energy, just like you said, as a freshman, he wasn't scared of the moment. He was out there, he's in the three and he's playing to the crowd. And I just love that confidence is shining through him, and he's been with the team for a month and a half. Tim, what are your feelings? I know you weren't there, but first of all, what are your feelings on the camera work by Patrick? And then talk about the actual competition.
Honestly, it's good work. Honestly, it's crazy now that there are major music videos that are shot with iPhones. I'm pretty sure a good example of that was, I think it was an Olivia Rodrigo music video, was shot exclusively with an iPhone. So anything's possible with that. Pat, I thought you did excellent work. I'm not trying to be a kiss ass or anything, but no, it was good work.
Checks in the mail, Tim.
Anyways, yeah, I really liked Bishop's got a good looking jump shot. I like that a lot. Hines, obviously an unorthodox form, but hey, doesn't matter if the ball goes in the basket. If he's hitting those threes, that is really I mean, that's a good sign. I wouldn't want him shooting that during a game for now. But if he gets more comfortable, gets some good looks, takes them and makes them, I wouldn't mind seeing him shoot more of those. But overall, I mean, those two freshmen, Hines, we've talked about at length, but yeah, seeing Bishop for the first time like that, like I can see why Coach B's so high on her.
Definitely.
I will
Patrick,
say
anyone else stand out? I know we're not going to play every video, but anyone else stand out that you would recommend on the women's side or the men's side?
I mean, to maybe get to the women's side, I forgot what her name was. Martinez, the transfer from
Mariana Valenzuela.
Yes, Mariana Valenzuela. I got her name wrong again. This is bad. Valenzuela, the transfer from Florida State. We will probably at some point show the clip of her and then the second part of the showcase was a 3-point shooting contest. And she hits 13 out of 16, and people are going nuts because, she just, in fact, I think she drained her last 4. So I don't know if that was something which Tony Bozzella was expecting to have. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. And that's something that, we'll have to see what he mentions. Maybe we'll hit him up on media day and ask him whether he was expecting that or not from Valenzuela. Other than that, I think, to get to the men's side, obviously Bud Clark, this is the first time I saw Bud Clark, and he looked like he had his 3-point stroke down pretty well. So that's another positive. That's something which Shaheen Holloway focused upon. We mentioned that last week that he's been practicing, taking up 2,000 or 3,000 3-pointers a week to get his 3-point shooting iron range. And if he can add that to his already ridiculous repertoire of offensive skills, he's going to become that much more dangerous and that much closer to being the best point guard in the Big East.
I would have showed you guys the clip that Patrick took, but Patrick was learning how to be a cameraman, and it wasn't landscape. And he's testing my video skills. And as I told you guys, or I told Patrick a couple episodes ago, my editing skills on video has to improve dramatically for the show to grow. And Patrick's definitely testing it with his camera work.
You can take my word for it that Clark. Clark looked like a guy who was working on his 3-point shot, and it looked like it was paying dividends, at least in whatever you want to call what we saw last Saturday. Hopefully that translates into the scrimmages coming up, and then further on down the road transfers to gameplay when we tip things off in a little bit less than 4 weeks.
Fair enough. You got anything, Tim? Before we go to break?
Last thing I was going to say, with the bounce pass being so hard, at least none of them were doing. I don't know if you've seen the clip of CP3 during the skills competition at the All-Star game this year, where he just haphazardly threw 3 bounce passes just to save time, and everyone booed him out of the building. Yeah. At least they did not take a page out of the CP3 handbook there. So, good job, Pirates.
Yeah, that's the worst part of all these skill challenges, the bounce pass. Like that's dumb. Like it doesn't matter how they portray it. Like you're gonna put through a hole in what was it, Patrick? About 4 feet away. Like when are you gonna?
Yeah, that just looked. I don't know. That's again. It must be a drill that you would know this better than I would, Brian. It must be a drill that coaches put players through, but it didn't translate to whatever they were trying to do on Saturday.
I've never seen someone bring out and like you try to throw it through like a circus game. I've never seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen passing drills, but not where like it's one of those, when you go to the county fair or something and you're shooting the basket and the ball is just perfectly, like you have to land it perfectly. That's what it looked like from here, from your great camera work. That's what it looked.
Yeah,
like.
no, it was definitely a little. It looked a little awkward, but I think the point you want to take away from this is that some of the people we're expecting are going to step up for Seton Hall this year looked the part, at least in however they could look that way on Saturday. And again, we'll see what they look like when we actually watch them play real basketball games in not too long a time from now.
All right, when we come back, Tim, are you ready for the highly recommended, highly commented segment of Pirate Vibes, Sign Mafia?
I will be ready, and it will be pretty meta. That's all I'll tease about it.
All right. Right on Big East Energy Network. This is Pirate Vibes. All right, welcome back to Pirate Vibes on the Big East Energy Network. This is the segment that everyone's been waiting for. We debuted it last week. Tim Best with Sign Mafia on a Pirate Vibes budget, which is a dry erase board.
Correct.
All right,
Good
go
investment.
for it, Tim. I present you Tim Best's Sign Mafia.
Da-da-da. Yep, it's pretty meta. Students, star comic creatives, signs and chants for this season. Get started on it now. And here's why. So when I was the leader of the Bluebeard Army many eons ago, granted, I was president 8 years ago. So we had a preseason meeting where we had members come to our meeting. And by the way, Coach Mazzella, thank you so much for actually coming to the meeting that we went over everything that we do from, like, I ended up doing a chant sheet, which I think I took out of the playbook. I hate to admit this because I hate Duke, but I took it was a page out of the playbook of the Cameron Crazies. Like, they had a fully detailed chant sheet for what to do pregame and for during starting lineups and defensive chants, offensive chants. That was the first year, by the way, where they had the new Jumbotron that you see now at the Rock, where you see the points and the rebounds, and with Angel Delgado being the senior, now being able to see points and rebounds. Whenever he would get the double-double, we'd all look up and see it that he got it. So we'd start the double-double chant. So we were talking about all these things, and Coach B was like the special guest speaker beforehand to talk about how important the role that Bluebeard Army played to the success of his team, the men's team, and just all of our teams in general at Seton Hall. So we have this preseason meeting. I doubt that they're doing something like this now, but it's never too early to start coming up with new signs, chants. You know who the opponents are going to be. You could do some early research, even like doing signs about our players that were creative. Like, I remember Duncan Desi, the discount double check sign, which, by the way, new Yankees broadcaster Dave Sims, he was calling a game and he got a good chuckle out of that discount double check. But signs for our guys, and obviously looking ahead to some of our other opponents, and especially for when Rutgers comes to the Rock for the Garden State Harvard Classic. Get creative. Don't cross the line. Going to make that very clear. Do not cross the line. I've seen people, make signs that also just verbally heckle players, and like, don't bring people's families into it. Like, I'm just going to give you that warning now. Don't stoop to that, students. Like, I know you're better than this. I know that, we're just college kids. You're better than this. You're adults. So start acting like it for one. And so that's the spiel I got. And hopefully I'm not going to sound like an old man yelling at a cloud here, or like sound like a boomer and yelling at the young folk. But I'm hoping that they'll take this as more constructive, and maybe we'll use that as a sign, wink, wink, of inspiration to make their presence felt and provide a home court advantage and give us an edge to, be successful at home and take that momentum away from it.
Let me make a broader point than what Tim is making here. Students need to show up. That was that there were underlying issues last year. JT Nortonson, who was one of Tim's successors at the Bluebeard Army, was particularly upset that they made this change where they put a row in front of the student section of the big NIL donors and didn't let the students know that in advance, so that a lot of the energy that you would normally get from the students, particularly 2 years ago when, obviously we won the NIT, that the students just were not as into it. And then, of course, they were using the, we have class excuse, or we have something else going on. I think that, if you're a student and you came to Seton Hall, you need to be ride or die with this team. This is something where, unfortunately, I think that because the energy got sucked out of the room, the slow start notwithstanding, the energy getting sucked out of the room made it that more painful an experience, because why is anybody else going to get excited at this team if students aren't showing up? So I think it's a matter of, back when Seton Hall was ranked, and, Tim and I can speak to this because we were there at various times when Seton Hall was successful, students would skip classes. Students would stay on campus for the weekends because a big game was coming up against a Villanova, or a big game against a Xavier, or a big game against a Providence. You would show up, you'd say, you know what, I'll catch up. I'll see somebody else's notes or something like that. So, this is the type of thing, it's sort of a chicken or the egg situation. Does Seton Hall have to win games for the students to show up, or should the students be showing up anyway, giving their full support regardless of the situation? I would say it should be the latter. And I think that, if hopefully the Bluebeard Army now, I don't know who's running the Bluebeard Army this year, we'll tag them on this, and hopefully they'll bring the enthusiasm that sort of comes and goes depending on the situation. I think there's something where you just have to dedicate yourself to the task at hand and sort of let the chips fall where they may. But if this is a more exciting team, as Shaheen Holloway has promised, going to see players like Bud Clark and Najai Hines should be reason enough to go see this team this season.
Tim, I'm going to throw you on the spot.
Mind you, also, at the end of the day, they're your classmates. Like, it's kind of like, if you're in high school, like, you want to support your classmates, if they're competing in soccer or whatever sports. When I was in high school, whenever my high school and we had a very good football program. Whenever we would go to the Carrier Dome for the sectional finals, it was a whole school ordeal where everyone in that school would go to the dome to support our squad. So because we're friends, we're classmates, you may not actually be in class with them. Like, I was lucky enough to be in class with a few of those guys. So at the end of the day, you're all in the same school, you're classmates. Go support your classmates. Like, it's so much better to lift everyone up rather than bring people down. And that's another thing when it comes to running a student section. Our players feed more off of the positive encouragement rather than bringing the other team down with your heckling, because they hear that everywhere they go. So you're not doing anything special unless you're really unique and, you come up with something creative, kind of like a couple of years ago when Rick Pitino had COVID. And the student section all started wore the masks. Like, that was genius. Like I said, visiting teams hear heckling everywhere they go, so they're used to it. So our guys will feed much more off of the positive encouragement. So students, Bluebeard Army, and all fans in general, keep that in mind.
Tim, I'm going to throw you on the spot here. I need a cheer for Bud Clark. I need something from like a Tim Best original here. Bluebeard Army, Sign Mafia. Maybe it's homework. Maybe it's homework before the season. You could give an example. You could be a mentor for the Bluebeard Army.
You don't like we have Bud Clark and you don't?
I guess you could get that one.
I could say, the sign I would do, to quote South Park, "I'm not your buddy guy." I'm not your friend, buddy. Like, I love South Park, so like something with Bud. That was the first.
Or how about
you could definitely come up with
Hines? Come up with one by the next game. Mentor the Bluebeard Army leader.
Hines catch up. You got to do. You got good luck catching up to Hines.
There's also Duncan Hines cake.
Duncan Hines brownies.
Oh,
big mix.
I don't know if we want to mention that with all the talk about Hines, whatever people think his weight is or not.
Yeah, but I would love to be a mentor to the Bluebeard Army, and I'm hoping we see a resurgence, with the Bluebeard Army, and hopefully it'll translate on the court with the squad. We'll see.
That's awesome. Any last words, fellas, before we take off?
I think I mentioned this to you. I don't know what I'd like to do, given over the next couple of weeks, if fans are listening. What we'd like to do is we have, thanks to Brian, some shirts that he tags them he tags them for people if they're interested. What I'd like to do is, if you are listening, I'm going to give a shirt away, or we're going to give a shirt away to whoever can pick the starting lineup opening night. And then whoever, if there's multiple people, will put their names in a hat, and we'll announce the winner of that in an episode after opening night. And you'll get one of the shirts, one of the Seton Hall shirts. I'm not wearing that one, but one of them says Hall Tough, with which I think with Big East energy.
I'm going to up that game here. I'm going to let you design it. A big East energy, the winning comment. If there's someone that gets 5, and you can design it, and it will be a Hall shirt. It doesn't have to be the Hall Tough unless you want to buy the Hall Tough for the Big East energy Power Vibes. It's almost like you can use it as the Bluebeard Army chant, right? Duncan Hines man or something, right? and you got Najee.
Well, that might be trademark.
I guess that's Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm not trying to throw any shade. I'm trying to become creative. We have Bud Clark, and your team doesn't. We already have that shirt with Bud Clark's hair, because obviously that's his trademark. And so you can design it if you're able to comment on one of the next shows before the tip off, right? That's where we're going with the cutoff. So you have until November 2nd to enter.
Right. Make a comment to this video with your pick of who the starting lineup is, or if you want to put it on the Seton Hall fans Facebook page, or you want to comment on, if we post this on Twitter, just put it out there, send it in. That way, we and whoever, again, guesses the starting lineup, because, one of the things that we'll probably talk about sometime down the road is the fact that this starting lineup is in flux. So if you can give me a starting lineup, if you can make that pick before November the 3rd, then, you get something out of it, or whoever wins a drawing for that gets something out of it.
Tim, you're eligible to make it too, is if you leave a comment below our video. I'm perfectly fine. Same thing with you, Patrick. Like, you can leave the comment right there. You can win your own shirt.
I did that. I did a post on that, Brian. If you go to the Big East blog, I posted my guess on the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's true. Well, leave a comment, and then you can
on that. By the way, it's actually been my best Seton Hall preview, believe it or not. So for a team everyone's picking last, everyone wants to know what's going on. So if you haven't seen it yet, the BigBigEastBlog.com. Tim gave some good contributions to that as well. It's a quick 2 or 3 minute read. We both make our predictions for the season. Hopefully Tim and I are wrong, and Seton Hall does a lot better than both of us expected them to do. But, we'll see where we're at as the season goes along.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to abstain from the commenting, because if I win and I have to design something, I may be creative up here. I am not creative.
No, we'll work together. I do the graphics. You come up with the words. I'll put the art together.
Deal.
Okay. All right.
Deal.
Leave your comment, Patrick. You too. Patrick.
I'll just have to tag my episode. I've put my guess out to the world, Brian. So,
well, just find it yourself. Then.
Yeah, I know. It's the algorithm. Everything helps the algorithm. The comments.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
All that. So, you can help too. But this has been Pirate Vibes, Big East Energy Network, the best show in the world about the Seton Hall Pirates, men and women. Starting next week, right here on the Big East Energy Network. Stay blue, stay true, and vibe on.
Ahoy there! Ahoy, me hearty!